Okay, so international business law and trade regulations, no? So this govern how Philippine enterprise engage in cross-border trade, foreign investment, import-export transaction, and international commercial relationship, no? As the Philippine participates in global markets through treaties, no, trade agreements, and international convention, businesses must comply not only with domestic laws, but also with binding international commitments. These legal frameworks affect tariffs, custom valuation, foreign ownership, dispute settlement, and regulatory standards, no? Making legal compliance a critical component of international competitiveness and risk management. A landmark case illustrating the relationship between domestic law and international trade obligation is Southern Cross Cement Corporation versus Cement Manufacturers Association of the Philippines. No? So, that is GR number 1585.40 on August 3, 2005. And the Supreme Court ruled on the application of safeguard measures under the WTO framework, affirming that while the Philippines is bound by international trade agreements, the implementation of such measure must still comply with domestic statutory authority. For businesses, this case clarified that international trade remedies, now such as safeguards and tariffs, are legally enforceable only when properly grounded in the Philippine law. And to give us more details about the topic, let us all welcome our presenter. Go ahead.
Yes po. Thank you. Good afternoon po to everybody. So let's just dive in sa topic natin for today. So we're going to be briefly discussing about international business law and trade regulations. So next slide, please. It's our objective at the moment is to understand international business law, identify key trade regulations, analyze legal risk in global business, and apply legal concepts to real-world cases. Now, next slide, please. Okay, so what is the international business law? These are laws governing cross-border commercial activities. Actually, it applies sa trade in goods and services, foreign direct investment, licensing, franchising, and joint ventures. So technically, any type of business na we will naiisip natin can be applied actually here because in the real world, the Philippines, of course, meron tayong mga laws, gaya ng sabi ni Sir, but in the real world, we can have partnership also with other businesses from other countries. So understanding kung ano yung boundaries natin, kung ano yung nasasakop, or kung ano yung mako-cover, that would help us to understand. Kasi at the end of it, there will be repercussions if we do not understand what are laws internationally sa business. So, international business law, why is it important? So, important siya kasi nagpo-provide siya ng essential rules, no? Nagpo-provide siya ng stability. So, the next slide, the next slide please. The next slide shows that they are put in place to regulate the business operations of a company and their supply chain across different nations. Kasi iba-iba naman talaga ang policies natin. Sa Philippines meron, sa US meron, sa UK iba din. So hindi natin makikita yung similarity. Kaya we have to be prepared. We have to be aware na dahil iba-iba sila, there is really a big possibility na if we do not follow, there will be consequences. And the worst scenario is fines, sometimes criminal charges, no? So that's why it's important for us to understand the international business law. According to University of York, upholding these international business laws meant that we can protect our company against exploitation, also oppression sa mga vulnerable nation kasi hindi naman natin masasabi talaga na walang nagte-take advantage meron talaga. So if we know anong right natin internationally, then we can protect ourselves. Next slide please. So we have major legal systems. So I'm pretty much sure nasabi na to before. We have common law, we have civil law. Ngayon may mga countries na nagpa-practice. So sa common law, nagpa-practice diyan US, UK, Canada. Ngayon, if we can go back to our discussion before, I believe this is accounting, if I can remember it right. Common law, or what we call it more as case law, nanggaling siya sa judge-made precedent. So meaning to say, nag-evolve siya from a judicial decision rather than statutes, where judges follow previous ruling. Unlike doon sa codified statutes, which is the civil law, ang nag-a-apply dyan, EU, Japan, Latin America, to name a few, ito yung mga laws that are systematically collected, organized. So naka-formal sila, written and structured based on treaties or conventions to have a more harmonized business rule. Hindi naman din nag-i-stop dyan yung ating laws kasi meron tayong mga Muslim majority nations, right? So we have what we call religious law. It is more applied sa mga Middle East countries, no? Lalo na yung mga Muslim majority nations. Tinatawag din siyang Islamic law or Sharia. So this law, it influences contracts within Muslim majority nations, but they are based on sacred texts like Quran, Sunnah, that guides all aspects also of their lives, no? So parang if they have their what do you call it, their basis of their law, ini-incorporate nila iyon sa sacred book nila, which is their Bible. All right? So, also, apart from that, we have the mixed system. The mixed system is a combination of legal traditions like common laws, precedent, and civil laws, codes. However, itong mixed system kasi, if a country such as South Africa and Louisiana, as an example, if they're using mixed system, dapat very sila dito, dapat they are very meticulous in terms of what they, parang kung ano yung nakapaloob. Kasi it's incorporation of two different laws eh. So, dapat, when you're doing if you're using the mixed system, you have parang both the knowledge of the common and the civil. Common and civil, yes, you're right. So, yun. So, next slide, please. So we have sources of international business law. Sa sources natin, we have national laws, international trade agreements, and international organizations. However, ang pinaka-common talaga or most significant sa kanila would be treaties or international agreements. Doon talaga tayo kumukuha ng sources natin for our for the international business law rather. So yung mga international agreements, dyan na usually example niyan, dyan na pumapasok yung mga WTO, which is the World Trade Organization agreements, no? Pumapasok din dyan yung mga regional trade agreements like NAFTA. Meron ding bilateral agreements between two nations, and then yung CISG natin, which is the UN Convention on Contracts for the International Sale of Goods. Sa international treaties and agreements natin, next slide please. Dun sa international treaties and agreements natin, under, like I mentioned earlier, example ng WTO, meron tayong following. We have the GATT, which is the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trades. We have the GATS, which is the General Agreement on Trade in Services. And we have the TRIPS, trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights, or the intellectual property. Sa tawag nito, sa GATT natin, sa General Agreements on Tariff and Trade, yan ay actually nag-start based on history ha. Diyan actually nag-start in 1947 when it was signed, for the main purpose of boosting post-World War II economic recovery by reducing tariff or quotas and trade barriers. Pero eventually, noong 1995, the GATT was absorbed into the World Trade Organization na nag-handle na ngayon or nagmamanage na ngayon ng GATT 1994 as the primary set of rules pagdating sa trading ng goods. Sa GATS naman natin, it is a World Trade Organization treaty na nagre-regulate ng international service. Actually, pwedeng i-handle dito banking and finance. So any type of services. A good example nito is a foreign bank. Let's say you have a foreign bank, you're opening a subsidiary in another country. So allowing it to operate under the same rule as local bank. So diyan papasok yung rules and regulation under GATS based on the agreement na na-draft nila. TRIPS naman, it sets a minimum standard for intellectual property. The main purpose nito is to really protect and ensure yung patent, trademark, and copyright laws that are enforceable across borders. Next slide, please. So we have key international organizations. So actually, for the term itself, sila yung mga major key player, no, in this in international law. So we have the WTO, lagi natin naririnig yun, World Trade Organization, World Bank and IMF. We also have United Nations Commission on International Trade Law at saka yung International Chamber of Commerce. Okay. Si United Nations, when I was reading, si United Nations Commissions on International Trade Law, their function is, actually, they are the core legal body ng UN. They were established in 1966. So ang function nila is to harmonize and to modernize rules governing international trade. So they need to remove or they have to remove obstacles to global commerce. Si ICC naman, it's the world's largest business organization. Kumbaga parang they represent, no? So they act as the voice of global business to promote international trade, set rules like the Incoterms, provide dispute resolution, and advocate for economic growth and responsible business conduct. So, international trade regulations are rules governing exchange of goods and services across borders, including tariffs, quotas, and compliance enforced by bodies like the WTO. An example nito is yung US Foreign Corrupt Practices Act or the FCPA, which prohibits US firms from bribing foreign officials to secure business. International trade regulations are rules also governing cross-border exchange of services, health and safety, and agreements to manage competition, protect consumers and industries, and ensure fair practices. So it is important that we adhere on this one kasi it is going to help us avoid, gaya na sinabi ko kanina, penalties, and also criminal charges, no? Sometimes mas mahirap pa nga yung criminal charges kasi yung monetary penalty, you can, maybe you can work things out, pero pag criminal charges na, and then you get imprisoned, yun na mahirap doon. Kaya we have to make sure that we are adhering on this regulation. The international trade regulation aims to protect domestic industries, ensure safety and standards, and advance national interest. So next slide is about tariff. Kanina na-mention ng previous speaker yung tariff, and kahit si Doc, no? Tariff is a tax on imported goods. It actually increases the price of foreign products, and it protect domestic producers or industries. Yung sa tariff kasi, although nagre-raise siya ng revenue, no, kasi it protects the domestic industry. So ang effect niya, it raises revenue. Or it exert political pressure. Kaya lang, since nagpo-protect siya ng domestic products natin or domestic industries, yung foreign products naman ngayon, sila yung nagiging mas expensive than the local products. So meron tayong mga non-tariff barriers or NTBs na tinatawag. So sila yung import quotas, licensing requirements, technical standards, health and safety regulations. These are international business, the non-tariff barriers in international business, these are government-imposed restrictions on trade other than the taxes called the tariff that make importing or exporting goods difficult and costly, often through red tape, technical standards, quotas, licensing, and subsidies. So sa quota, like I said, common types of NTBs quotas. It limits on the quantity of the specific goods that can be imported. So more definitely yung mga papasok or yung yung mga yung mga papasok na product, binibigyan sila ng limit kung ilan lang ang pwede. If I'm not mistaken, I think sa US ngayon parang may tawag nito, parang may ginagawa ata si President Donald Trump in regards to his desire to buy Greenland. So if according to the news that I read, if Greenland will not be given to the US, wala silang the US will have to impose higher tax. So or higher tariff, no, doon sa mga papasok ng mga product sa kanila coming from EU. Also, another one is yung mga licensing requirements. Mandatory permits can become slow, complex, or biased. Technical standards and health and safety regulations. There will be strict technical health or safety rules for product characteristics. It will become more stricter when it comes to testing, labeling, or packaging. Next slide, please. So export controls. Export controls restrict export of sensitive goods, software, and technology to protect national security, implement foreign policy, and safeguard economic interests. Example po nito, yung mga shipping items, for example, shipping items with both commercial and military application. High-end drones, specialized chemicals, or advanced navigation system. Nagre-require po ito ng mga government authorization. Another example for export control, yung emailing or giving access ng mga blueprints, source code, or proprietary technology to foreign persons or branches. It is applied it is applied to military products, dual-use technologies, and based on national security concerns. Next slide, please. Economic sanctions. Sa economic sanctions, these are legal penalties imposed by governments or international bodies like UN or EU to restrict trade, finance, or travel to influence a target country's policies without military action. Ngayon, if you are familiar, di ba, when Russia tried to invade Ukraine, a good example nito is when US decided na mag-sanction sa Russia. One of the things that they did, they froze central bank assets and they banned energy imports. I believe also the United Kingdom sanctioned Russia because of yung action nila na i-invade si Ukraine, and they also banned energy imports and restrict technology exports. Here can include trade bans, asset freezes, and financial restrictions, just like how I mentioned earlier. Ay, sorry. Nasaan na? Wait lang po, nabura. Okay, next slide, please. So we have now international business contracts. So any other contract whether ito for my my stand, whether it's an international or local, your contract must really have to address a lot of things, and the most important would be the legality of it. So you need to cover your back at the end of the day, no? So international business contract is a legally binding agreement between parties in different countries, commonly governing import, export, licensing, or joint ventures. It has to address legal differences, enforcement challenges, currency, and risk allocation. But obviously, it's better to be safe, no? Kaya if there are other pertinent information that you know that we need to or we can put into the contract, might as well just put it. We don't really limit, the details of it with just the three of this, that the three things that I have on my slide. It's better to be safe than sorry at the end. Next slide, please. Incoterms. Incoterms is a standardized trade terms. These are a set of internationally recognized rules which define the responsibilities of sellers and buyers in the export transaction. Si Incoterm, it actually clarifies, no, kung sino yung dapat mag-handle neto, sino dapat mag-handle sa ganito. So it clarifies who's gonna handle shipping, who's gonna handle insurance, payment for logistic, etc., etc. Example natin sa kanya would be the FOB, CIF, DDP. So these are all acronyms. FOB stands for free on board, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Free on board. Yun. Tapos yung DDP, it stands for delivered duty paid. So the Incoterm are just a standardized term to know which is responsible for such. Dispute resolution option. The dispute resolution option, we have litigation, arbitration, and mediation. Ano ba mga differences nila? Si arbitration, it's a primary binding method for resolving cross-border disputes, business disputes. Hindi pala. Litigation, sorry. I'm gonna go back. Litigation it involves resolving cross-border dispute, often requiring complex jurisdictional system. Yun. Si arbitration naman, it's a binding method for resolving cross-border outside the court. And mediation naman in international business law is a confidential, voluntary, and non-binding process na merong third party, a neutral third party called mediator. And it helps parties from different jurisdictions to resolve cross-border disputes. The next slide, please. It's compliance and ethics. It involves following global laws and moral principles, like fairness, honesty, responsibility across border. So compliance and ethics, because we are tawag nito, there are laws, no, that we can apply, like the anti-money laundering law, the anti-bribery law, no, because at the end of the day, our principle still have to be met, no? And what is that principle? Fairness, honesty, and responsibility across border. We have to build trust, especially kapag business to business. Kaya it's nice and it's better for us to be compliant not only sa law but also ethically. So dyan mga good example would be, like I said, anti-money laundering law, UK Bribery Act, and anti-bribery law in the US. Ngayon, one example would be, one good example of international business law case, no, na nangyari sa Philippines is yung GR number 233852 between Western Sales Trading Co. and the 7D Food International Incorporated. Unfortunately, para ang issue nila is just that the 7D Food International, which is a Philippine corporation, sued a Guam-based firm for violating an exclusive distributorship agreement by selling competitor products in Guam and Hawaii, demonstrating a breach in international commercial transaction. So, actually, sorry Doc, hindi ako masyadong nag-read through ng ruling dito po sa case na to. Hindi ko actually po maintindihan yung mga terms na ginamit nila doon. But one thing lang that I shared is merong isang uh, company between the two of them na hindi na-grant yung kanyang petition. I believe natalo sila sa case. Yun lang. So that is all my report. Thank you so much po.
Okay, so again, prior to the sharing po ng ating friend, no, ng ating another significant case is Agaban, no, versus National Labor Relations Commissions or GR number 158693, no, and November 17, 2004, which although primarily a labor case, no, uh, has a strong implication for international business operations. The ruling emphasized compliance with due process and labor standards, reinforcing that multinational and export-oriented business operating in the Philippines must observe local labor laws regardless of global practices. This demonstrates that participation in international trade does not exempt firms from domestic regulatory responsibilities. Again, Philippine jurisprudence demonstrate that international business activities are regulated through a balance of global commitments and national sovereignty. So in Southern Cross Cement Corporation versus Cement Manufacturers Association of the Philippines, in the Supreme Court stress, no, that international trade agreements such as those under the World Trade Organizations do not automatically override Philippine statutes. No, the case underscored that government agencies, no, must act within their legal mandates when imposing trade remedies. No, and businesses must understand both international rules and local implementing laws that this is when engaging in importation and exportation. And the Commission of Customs, no, versus Hypermix Feeds Corporation or GR number 1795 na 79, February 1, 2012, the Supreme Court ruled that administrative issuance affecting import duties must comply with due process requirements, including proper publication. In this case, is highly relevant to international traders as it affirms that custom regulations affecting valuation, tariffs, and duties must be legally valid before enforcement. No? For businesses, it highlights the importance of monitoring regulatory changes and asserting legal rights when trade rules are improperly implemented. So these cases show that international business law in the Philippines operates within a structured legal environment, no, where trade liberalization, regulatory compliance, and domestic legal safeguard coexist. Businesses engaged in the global trade must ensure adherence to custom laws, labor standards, investment regulations, and treaty obligations while remaining vigilant against unlawful regulatory actions. Understanding this legal principle enables firms to manage cross-border risk effectively, comply with international and domestic laws, and sustain local participation in the global marketplace, no? Regarding to the anti-bribery or corruption, the Philippine case of People versus Malabago, no? So, JR number 18944 on January 2, 2013, the doctrine will be the direct bribery public office of as a trust, no? So the fact a public office was charged with receiving money in exchange for facilitating a transaction within the official function, no? And the Supreme Court affirmed the conviction ruling that acceptance of any consideration in connection with the official duties constitute bribery, regardless of whether the promise act was fully carried out. No? So, ano yung business relevance? No? So the case no underscore that offering or facilitating bribes even indirectly exposes businesses and their officers to criminal liability. Companies dealing with government transaction must enforce strict anti-bribery policies and controls, no? So under anti-money laundering law or AML cases, Republic Act of the Philippines versus Eugenio Jr. or GR 174629, February 14, 2008, the fact is that the doctrine, bank secrecy versus AMLA, no? So the EMLC sought to examine bank accounts suspected to be linked to unlawful activities. So, ang naging ruling ng Supreme Court, the Supreme Court ruled that the Anti-Money Laundering Act no, is a valid exemption of the bank secrecy law, allowing examination of accounts upon court order. So, ano yung relevance sa business? Bank and covered institution must comply with AML reporting and investigation requirements even if customer confidentiality is affected. Non-compliance exposes institution to penalty. So therefore, these cases shows that anti-bribery and AML laws in the Philippines are actively enforced and directly affect businesses operation, especially those dealing with government contracts, financial transaction, and cross-border activities. For business compliance programs, ethical codes of conduct, AML controls, and transparent governance are not optional. They are essential legal safeguards against criminal, civil, and reputational risk. Okay, so sir, yes sir, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Again, good afternoon, sir and classmates. Actually, with regards to the US and China tariffs, some says that it's a disadvantage on the part of the US, but also a disadvantage on the part of the China. But on our part, actually, there are some product lines that I may say na nagkaroon tayo ng advantage nung nagdagdag ng tariff si US sa China. Bakit ko nasabi to? Kasi 20 years ago, DNR strictly prohibits of getting natural marble here in the Philippines. Ngayon kasi merong mga formulations and actually ang marble ngayon, they're already a synthetic granites, which is a synthetic marble, which our organization is actually manufacturing unsaturated polyester resin, which is a chemical raw material for the synthetic marble. So, when the Trump administration last year, January 20 of 2025, initiated, nag-impose si Trump ng 145% tariff in Chinese goods. And then reciprocally, nag-impose naman si China ng 125 tariff in the US. So when that happened, actually nagkaroon kami ng opportunity with those Chinese manufacturers which is actually located in China. Kasi we're doing the raw material which is the unsaturated polyester resin, but our competitors are actually in China. Kaya ang nangyari last year, ang mga Chinese manufacturers nagpunta in other countries, also in the Philippines as well. So meaning, nung nagpunta sila dito, which are the synthetic granite manufacturers, doon na kami nagkaroon ng opportunity in order for us to make way into the local business, and sila Chinese manufacturer na nasa Pilipinas going to the US, which is around 19% lang ang tariff from Philippine made product lines, which is yun nga yung synthetic granites which is being used in kitchen countertops, bathroom vanities, flooring tiles, and wall claddings and outdoor furnitures. So, ang Philippines ang nagkaroon ng advantage ngayon kasi minamanufacture na yun sa Pilipinas going to the US, which is lesser tariffs na binabayaran natin. Binabayaran nila sa US. Kasi ang concentration ng mga Chinese manufacturers are those products that will be exported to the US. Kaya marami ang mga manufacturers na nasa China na lumipat ng Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, and also in the Philippines. That is what we are actually experiencing now. That's the reason why we take advantage on that. Kaya yung mga Chinese manufacturers na yon na nagpunta rito, we supply them right now with those resins that we are manufacturing. Kaya nagkaroon tayo ng advantage when it comes to Philippine business. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so thank you, sir, for